Hi, this is a foreigner living in the Philippines. Well, one of the things that I've noticed most is a certain skill which seems to be lacking in a lot of people, and that is listening. And how does this affect the quality of your life? Well, in listening, you actually learn a great deal about things that will help you. And it seems to me that there are different ways of approaching how you value your work. And one of them is that you need to have a good assessment of what your real skill level is. Now, I've noticed that some people will tend to downplay their skill or whatever they're good at, right? And this is a more common thing depending which culture you're from. If you're from the British culture, you will tend to downplay. If you are from the Chinese culture, you definitely will tend to downplay it a great deal. You will be much, much more humble because it's against the cultural setting to actually talk about how good you are. Now, if you're an American, it's a required skill to be able to talk yourself up. And this is so prevalent in, say, America, and it's a requirement. This is not a criticism. It's not a praise of one culture against another. This is just a statement of fact. What they found in the colleges in America was that when Chinese students came who were actually going to stay and set up a life in America, that they simply didn't know how to talk themselves up. So they were going into a job application, an interview, and they would come out very badly because they didn't know what the culture was in America. Now, I listened to my son talk himself up, and when he went round with me to a particular job that I was doing, and he was thinking of applying for some of that work himself, and when the employer asked him, "Do you think you can do that?" "I can damn well do it as good as anybody else," he said, "if not better," which surprised me because I'm more British in my way of thinking. So how do I remember, and it's been a long time since I was in the UK, but how do I remember Brits would respond to questioning such as, "Can you do the job?" They would tend to come in under and say, "Yes, I believe that I could do that job. Yes, if you just give me a chance, I'm sure that I'll be able to do that." Kind of a little laid back. But in America, this wouldn't work. It simply wouldn't work. You need to be able to say, "I really think that this is my scene, and I think that I can do a great job here." That's what an employer would want to hear. I actually spoke to someone who filled in, just for fun, an application job for a managerial position in Walmart. And he said that just for fun, he went in and did everything tough, hard. If they asked a question, all of the questions would be managerial based. What would you do if this happened? And one of the questions, what would you do if you found that someone had taken something or done something, or perhaps helped themselves to something? Would you A, give them another chance with a warning? B, would you place them on some kind of restriction? C, would you fire them? Straight away, fire them. And he answered every question like that, ruthlessly, and he was offered the job. So at no point did he ever show any weakness, and this is an American Walmart. Now, if you if you had that kind of attitude, say, for applying in Britain, where the way is to be slightly under rather than over. If you went in and you said, I can damn well do this job, nobody can do this job better than me, let me tell you, the British would take great pleasure in watching you crash and giving you stuff that they would know would test you absolutely to the maximum, and they would say, yeah, take that sucker. And that's the way. Well, that means that when you go in the UK, you're wise to say, yes, I can do this. I'll need a little training, but I'm quick at learning, so yes, I could do it. And then, with a show of a little humility, someone will step up and willing to be a teacher. Right? If you do the opposite, when you go in to a job in America, they would assume that you better know, because you better have the confidence to do what you're doing, and they wouldn't want you to fail, but they'd be watching you, and you better be as good as your word. So yes, you've got to have adjusted and do what's needed in the culture that you have. And so they were actually teaching the Chinese students to have a little more, which for them was arrogance. They were telling them, no, you can't say, I think so. You've got to say, yes, I can. Absolutely, without a doubt, I can do this job. Which was against the Chinese way. They didn't do that. So sometimes it's the way that you approach things and the way that you want to learn, want to do what is the right thing, fit in with the right culture, and that's how you win. So this has been a foreigner in the Philippines. Waffled on a bit, but sometimes I do that, okay? Bye for now.